Hey everybody, this is the Ravens Miami Dolphins preview. So this is a very crucial game for the Baltimore Ravens. Here they are at 6-5, trying to keep pace with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers also have a really tough game with the New York Giants, who also have been on the roll, just like the Dolphins have. So for the Ravens to keep pace, they kind of have to get out of their own way. And I'm going to go over some injuries, keys to the game, and similarities between both teams. I think that will definitely pan out to see which team I think has the will to win this game. So I'm going to start off with the injuries. So as of right now, from what I understand, the Dolphins, Devontae Parker, is right now doubtful. He's been dealing with a back injury for the last few weeks, and it looks like he may not play. They may end up playing a rookie. I think he was either a third-round draft pick to replace him at wide receiver. Jarvis Landry, the other wide receiver, has been playing hurt, and he hasn't been playing that well. So he's not going to be 100% out there. Laramie Tunsil, who has been dealing with some issues, looks like he will be starting. He's not going to miss this. I think he himself has something to prove. I think he feels that the Ravens should not have passed him over with the sixth pick in the draft, and that he fell so far. So I think he has a lot to prove to those teams, at least in his mind, that he should have been drafted a lot higher. With that, everybody who remembers draft night, he had that photo up here within, I think, an hour of the draft starting, and it sent him down like, I think, 20 picks. So I think he has a lot. I think he's going to want to come out and definitely play. Now, the other injury for the Dolphins is Brendan Albert, the right tackle. His left hand has been an issue, and he also has a surgically repaired wrist, I believe, that's also in the same hand. So he says he wants to play. I think he's going to try to play, but I'll get into why that's going to, I think, be the difference factor in this game. Now, for the Ravens, it looks like Jimmy Smith is going to return. He has practiced all 3 days, full practice. He is listed as questionable on the injury report, but it looks like he is going to play in this game. Definitely, I think the game to get ready for, especially seeing how they got to play the Patriots right after this game. Dumerville looks like he'll definitely be back for a second straight game. He's going to be out there. He's been dealing with the foot injury, but he did come up with some crucial plays last week. So I know he's going to want to get back and try to put together back-to-back performances. Buck Allen is going to be out. He's been dealing with some issues. I'm not sure exactly what they are, but with the way Kenneth Dixon and Terrence West are running, I think he's just kind of the odd man out. I think even if he had been healthy, I think he would have been the odd man out based on especially how Dixon has played in the last 2 games. Now I'm going to get to the keys of the game for the Baltimore Ravens. If you look at the Ravens right now and you look at the Dolphins right now, their teams are very similar to each other. They both have pass rushes that kind of have underperformed. They should be better than what they are. Cameron Wake and Deion Jordan. I've always been a big fan of Cameron Wake who plays for the Dolphins. I've been a huge fan of that guy. But they're playing on a defense that's very inept right now. On the flip side of that, the Ravens defense has been playing lights out. They've been playing great. They're a top 10 defense right now. Suggs has started, I think, 7 sacks this season. Considering a guy who has, in his career, has now had 2 ruptured Achilles tendons and is now putting up 7 sacks in this season. Still, I think with like 5 games to go, for a guy who's in his mid-30s, I think is an accomplishment all by itself. And then you got Dumerville coming up, who had a sack strip fumble last week after dealing with a foot injury all season. It looks like he may be back to his form. We don't know. It's been 1 game. But I think this is going to be a game where the defenses are going to dictate who wins this football game. Now, if you look at the Ravens defense, what they do best is stop the run. They do that best. The Dolphins have been doing something that the Ravens should have been doing for the last 8-9 weeks, and that's running the football. Jay Ajayi, who has been with the Dolphins for the last 2 or 3 years, has kind of been sitting back there, splitting time with me when he had Lamar Miller back there, and now he's with the Texans. So he was splitting time with him and kind of trying to find what he did best, and he just didn't really kind of break out until this season. Now, in the last about 5-6 weeks, he's been that running game for the Miami Dolphins has been stout. It's been great. They've been able to find holes. They're creating holes for Jay Ajayi to run through, and Jay Ajayi is a strong runner. He's hitting the hole hard. But the Ravens have done well, though, especially through the Ravens' career, has been able to hold running backs and keep them out of the football game. And I think this is a game definitely where if you can stop the Dolphins from running the football with the injuries I just listed to their star wide receivers, Devontae Parker and Jarvis Landry, that's going to be the key to the game right there. The Ravens know, just like they did in that Cowboys game, we're going to make Ryan Tannehill beat us throwing the ball. Now, Ryan Tannehill has looked better in the last few games, much better than Flacco has, remarkably. But the criticism about Tannehill is that he's not a franchise quarterback. They did overpay him, but it looks like they wasted their money. It seems like, because I don't think he's going to be there, and maybe even after this season, just because he hasn't been able to take his team to that next level, a playoff caliber type team. Flacco at least has shown that in the past. And I think that's the difference with this game is the Ravens are going to have to kind of adopt the philosophy the Dolphins offense has been using. Marty Morningwig didn't like the fact that a lot of the announcers and pundits who commentate on Ravens football said that they play conservative. He said, "I hate that word, conservative." Well, my message to Marty Morningwig in the office is, if you guys score one touchdown in the first quarter, but then, have to kick 5 field goals just to win a football game, I call that conservative. This Ravens offense has been taking their foot off the pedal for years. If you take out the Kubiak year, where the Ravens were a top 10 offense, this Ravens offense has been so inept. They have never been able, like I said, minus that Kubiak year, to put a top 10 offense together. They just can't seem to do it. I won't get into the politics of Harbaugh and his leniency. And his loyalty to, the coaches from the Philadelphia Eagles or whatever, that, he just wants to give these guys jobs and not put together a solid football team. And they have the talent to do so, but I'm not going to get into that. The fact of the matter is, this is a point now in the season. I guess I say this every week, but for the Ravens, definitely right now, with the way I think it's set up, the Ravens are slated to play the Dolphins in a wild card matchup where it's the 6 seed against the 3 seed. So I think for the Ravens, they now have an opportunity where you saw them. I'm sorry, I'm watching the Penn State game. I see I'm wearing my Penn State hat. This is an opportunity for the Ravens, minus that Dallas Cowboys game where you thought, here's the best team in the nation right now in the NFL, and everybody's been losing to them, it looks like. But now you have an opportunity to go ahead and play a team in your conference that you may end up playing in the playoffs. So this is a playoff game. Luckily, the Ravens have it at home. They have to win the division here. This is definitely crucial. They cannot play that first playoff game on the road. So they got to be able to use that crowd noise. That thing is definitely going to be different for the Dolphins game. For the Dolphins side, is that the Dolphins are going to have to play in Baltimore. Baltimore has been known to be a very strong home stadium, especially the fans. And I think the fans, even though we've been very upset with how the offense is played and the fact that they're struggling, especially in games that should be blowing teams out, they are still winning football games and they're still in this. So we should still get behind our guys to go and finish this thing out. But back to the matter at hand. The fact is that the Ravens have to run the football in this game. This is going to be key for the Ravens. Kenneth Dixon and Terrence West have to be the focal point. I cannot stress this enough. I think most fans can say this, that Marty Morningwig and John Harbaugh need to sit down, or somebody from the front office, whether the Ozzy, somebody needs to tell these guys, look, what your philosophy has done has not worked the last few weeks. You guys need to start attacking teams. You cannot keep letting teams hang around, especially at this point in the season, where the Ravens actually, I think, have, at least in the AFC, have the number 2 hardest schedule right now to play for the rest of the season. You got the Patriots, you got the Steelers again, you got the Bengals, who are probably maybe have A.J. Green back at the end of the season. We'll see. I don't know. But they have the toughest schedule remaining for the end of the season. So they got to start putting it together now. This offense has got to start putting it together. The defense has been carrying this team all season. And I think it's getting to a point where the defense is starting to get frustrated. A coworker told me that apparently during the week, I think after the Bengals game, apparently Steve Smith and Mike Wallace just walked out. They didn't spend time in interviewing with the either it was this week or I can't remember. But they walked out of their interviews, and they're not happy with the way this offense has been running. Mike Wallace was excited to come to this team because he was coming here to play with a big arm quarterback who was going to get him the ball. And if you look last week, Mike Wallace maybe got 2 targets. Perriman maybe got 2. Steve Smith 2. And it's like that's it for the whole game. You have all these weapons and they're not being utilized. Now, I know a lot of people may say there's just too many cooks in the kitchen with trying to get the ball to everyone, but you got to get the ball in the hands of your playmakers. That's what good teams do. And the fact that your running game, it seems like it seems to be a formula each week for the Ravens where it gets to a point where they run the ball well, they get 60 or 70 yards in the first half, and don't run the football at all in the second half. They just abandon the run. The second half, for most people who watch football and have followed football, the second half is where the running game explodes. Because this is the point in the game where teams are tired. Guys have been tired of running up and down the field, trying to chase these running backs around, getting hit by offensive linemen, all this other stuff. This is a point where the running game gets able to break a few runs. You got to stick with it. And Harbaugh knows this. This is a staple of the Ravens' offense. Always has been to run the football. If anything else, you run the football. That's what they do. So I think for the Ravens, at the end of the day, I think this game comes down to the battle of the lines. When you look at the matchups, especially on offensive line for both sides, it's equally the same. You got injuries on both sides of the line. You got a left tackle position where Ronnie Stanley still dealing with, I'm pretty sure, some stuff. Yonda's dealing with a shoulder injury, and the offensive line for the Ravens has been banged up all year. But like I mentioned before, with Brendan Elber for the Dolphins, and then Laremy Tunsil for the Dolphins, left tackle and right tackle, the edge guys, that's going to be key for the Ravens right there. And for the Dolphins, whichever defensive pass rushers, whether it be Cameron Wake and Deion Jordan for the Dolphins, or Dumerville and Suggs / Judon for the Ravens, can get to the quarterback and provide pressure, is going to win this football game. These two teams are so similar in nature. I do believe the Ravens have more talent, but when you look at where this game is going to be won in the trenches, you look at that defensive line for the Ravens and that defensive line for the Dolphins and vice versa, offensive line for the Ravens and Dolphins is like identical right now. Okay, you got two rookie left tackles and you got, I guess relatively veteran right tackles, whatever. But they're all dealing with injuries. So it's going to come down to which defense is going to get pressure. The Ravens, in order to win this football game, have to start providing protection for Flacco. Look, I'm not going to sit here and give Flacco the benefit of the doubt. He has been playing terrible this year. His mechanics are off. He can't slide, apparently. He scared the crap out of us last week again, almost in breaking that knee brace. And he's throwing off his back foot. He's not finding wide receivers. He's holding on to the ball way too long, all that other stuff. He has his faults too, but I believe if you start providing Flacco with some kind of protection, he can start playing better. And that's just what the Ravens are. We can't, moan about why the Ravens aren't playing that well, why Flacco isn't playing that well. This is what he is this season, and they're going to have to play around it. The offensive line's got to play their best football for the next 5 games coming up. This one included. They got to play the next 5. They got to play strong, solid football. This is a game where, with the injuries that are mounting up on the Dolphins, this is a game where the Ravens have to put up 30 points. We cannot start seeing this again where the Ravens can only put up 1 touchdown in a football game. You're not going to win in December and January if you can only put up 7 points on offense. I love Justin Tucker. Don't get me wrong. The man kicked, 350-plus yard field goals last weekend. But we can't rely on this 2000 mindset to win our football games. The offense is not, the game isn't played that way anymore, where the rules allow the defense to kind of dictate the football game. The rules are made now that the offense dictates the football game, with the penalties and the holding penalties or whatever, and legal contact or whatever. It seems like a flag every play. This is an offense-driven league, at least for the regular season. So the Ravens have to start putting pressure on other teams. Putting pressure on teams, when you start putting up 30 points, 25, 35 points on teams, is just as good as having a good defense. When you're backing that team into a corner and they can't score in your defense, but you can score on theirs, that's putting them into a hole. That's putting them back into a corner where they have to start becoming one-dimensional and start making mistakes. So this is a time where the Ravens just need to come together and go ahead and, blow out a team. But honestly, even though I'm saying this right now, I believe this is going to be a nail-biter game. Just because all the offensive coordinator is not changing tomorrow, it's not going to change for the rest of the season. This is the Ravens team that we're going to see. I think they're going to struggle on offense. I think they'll look good in that first drive or second drive, whatever it is in the first quarter. They'll look great, and I think the offense is going to become really stagnant for the rest of the game, and they're just going to do a clock management thing and hope that Justin Tucker can kick a few field goals. I think that's going to be kind of game this is. This is going to be a grinded out game, and they're going to be. I'm pretty sure. I think there will be plenty of boos for the Ravens fans about the Ravens offense just not getting it done. I think it is what it is. We've been saying they need to fix it for weeks, and here we are going to week 12, week 13, week 12, and it's not getting done. I think that this is the Ravens team that is going to be. I don't think this is a playoff caliber team. I mean, at least that can extend the playoff. I think they could probably win a playoff game, but if they have to go into New England or they got to go play the Chiefs or play the Raiders again, I mean, I don't think they can beat those guys. Those offenses are clicking right now, and I just don't think this Ravens team with the coaches that they have and the unit. I think they had the talent, they had the players to get it done, but with the fact that Flacco is not a quarterback that runs a offense, and it's one thing to have a guy under center that can run plays. It's a difference. That's one thing. But when you have a guy under center that can run an offense, that's something totally different. When you look at what Dak Prescott is doing this season on the Cowboys. That guy is running this offense. Russell Wilson in Seattle runs that offense. Ben Roethlisberger in Pittsburgh, he runs that offense. When you have quarterbacks that can run the offense, regardless of what the OC is saying or what he's doing, he has a feel what the game is doing. Like, hey, we need to run it here, or hey, we need to play action pass or something like that to keep this thing going. Flacco just gets the plays and runs them. He rarely changes the play in the huddle. He rarely reads the defense as well to see who's here, who's there, and what he needs to check off to and all this other stuff. He's just, give me the ball and I'll throw the ball. He doesn't I don't think he reads his reads correctly. Constantly throwing to the guy that underneath route when it's 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, and throwing it to a guy 3 yards under the first down marker, and the guy has to extend it for so long just to get the first down, and usually it doesn't work out. So I think this team is just going to be, it is what it is, unless they have a huge turnaround in these next 5 games. I do think the Ravens go ahead and win this game. I think the Ravens defense is just that much better than the Dolphins defense. I think that they'll be able to handle Cameron Wake. I think Cameron Wake will get a sack. I do believe he'll get a sack. But I think the Ravens defense, with Jimmy Smith coming back, you got Eric Weddle in the secondary as well. You got the linebackers playing really good. Suggs and Dumerville look like they're back to their form. Like I said, we'll see if Dumerville can put it together for a second straight game. But I do believe that I think that Ravens defense is going to win this football game for the Ravens again. I do think the final score is going to probably end up being 17-14. I think the Ravens defense ends up getting a touchdown. So I do believe the Ravens offense will score a touchdown, the Ravens defense will score a touchdown, and at least there'll be a field goal made there. But I think it's going to be another nail-biter game. Don't expect fireworks from this Ravens offense, even though we should. We're going to probably see the same formula again, where they get 60 yards or 70 yards of rushing offense in the first half, and they won't run the ball again in the second half. No matter where the lead is, if they have the lead or not, even if they are about 14, they're not going to run the football effectively because they just don't seem to be able to have that in the playbook in the second half. I don't know I feel like they scrap the run game in the second half. So it is what it is. We'll see. Like I said, Ravens 17, Dolphins 14. I think the Ravens do pull it out. But Ravens fans, I think just hold on for the ride for the rest of the season, and we got to hope for the best. We can't keep getting mad. It's not good for our health. They're not going to be able to change anything until the offseason hits. So it is what it is right now. I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping the Ravens offense gets it together. I really do. I hope this Ravens unit goes ahead and puts up 35 and embarrasses the Dolphins team. But from what I've seen for the season, against weaker teams, against the Bengals and other teams like the Giants when they had like a 3-game losing streak and all this other stuff, and the Browns even. They almost lost to the Browns. 25-0 the first half or 25-2. I'm like, these guys are playing some bad teams and can't put up 30 points on them. So I'm like, against a team that's hungry right now, that's coming in, has a 6-game win streak, and looking at they're keeping their playoff hopes alive, you better believe they're going to bring it. So I would hope that the Ravens offense can bring it. I'm not liking their chances, but I still think they pull it out. The defense saves the offense's butt again in another week. But that's my little spiel. Please, leave comments in the bottom if you have them or anything like that. So I do my usual thing. I'll do my Ravens halftime video during the game, and then I'll do a post-game video as well to analyze what I think will happen in the game. I'll be doing that on Facebook. Anyway, thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.